Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of August 7th, 2025, including Battlefield 6 hype is building, and I'm here for it. Microsoft may be rolling out an age verification feature on consoles in the near future. Guitar Hero may be getting a spiritual successor, and more. On this week in Xbox history in the year 2008, 17 years ago, Braid was released for the Xbox 360. Of course, Summer of Arcade classic, Jonathan Blow, legendary game developer, I guess. It's been long enough that we can call him like a legendary game developer because between Braid and The Witness, I mean, these are like two of the most iconic indie developed games of all time. Listen, I played Braid. I never beat it, but I played Braid, and I remember enjoying it a lot, and my brother Caleb played it a lot, and we played it, and it was cool, and I was like, wow, I can't believe like a small team of people made this, and it's just here on Xbox, and you just download it, and you don't go to the store, and this is crazy. It's like Mario, but you download it. I can't believe games can do this, and it was revolutionary to me at the time, because I think this was like one of the first Xbox Live Arcade games we ever played, so I remember this being amazing for me in that regard. Now, beyond that, I don't have too many experiences with this game because I never went back and beat it. I never went back and played the re-release that came out last year, or really any of these kinds of things. I never really spent too much time with Braid other than just being aware of its existence and its relevance and its impact in the indie space. You know, Xbox 360 was the de facto platform for indie games back during the 360, the nascent era of indie gaming. So this is a really seminal game on a really seminal console during a really seminal moment in this scene's history. Now, I say all of that knowing full well the real reason why you want to bring up Braid isn't because of its significance or historical impact, but rather because that really funny video of Soulja Boy and his friends playing Braid, and they totally didn't understand what the fuck it was, and they kept calling him a gay little man, and then they would jump down the cliff and then use the rewind feature to rewind back up the cliff, and then press play again and fall off the cliff, and then rewind and go back up the cliff, and they just kept laughing because for some reason they thought it was funny. I don't know why it's funny. It's not funny. You can go watch the clip. The gameplay footage itself is 0% funny. But what is funny is watching Soulja Boy and his friends lose their shit over this, referring to the character as the gay little boy. So I really do love and cherish this internet clip, and always will for the rest of eternity. This is my favorite memory of Soulja Boy right there next to all of his cheap Chinese knockoff tech products that he tried to sell as the Soulja Pad, the Soulja PlayStation, or whatever, the Soulja Boy. You know what I'm talking about? He had like the Game Boy knockoff and the iPad knockoff and the AirPods knockoff and all of them. Dude, Soulja Boy is actually a legendary cultural figure because he's just brought so much entertainment into my life, and possibly for all the wrong reasons, but entertainment nonetheless. Guys, welcome to Xbox On, the podcast, the movie, the game. Jay Sivia writes in and says, "Hi, Jesse. I've got a food-related question to ask you, and you could answer in a future podcast. That would be so much appreciated. Next month, Australia is getting its first ever Chuck E. Cheese restaurant, and it's opening a location 5 minutes down from my place. I've got 2 young kids, both in primary school. Is it worth checking out Chuck E. Cheese? What's your take on the food that they serve? And finally, before going there, is it necessary that I purchase my own personal portable stomach pump?" Jay, thank you so much for writing in on an important question, a question that not only demands an answer for you as an Australian facing Chuck E. Cheese for the first time, but demands an answer for all of us in other parts of the world that want to know about Chuck E. Cheese coming to Australia. So let me real quick look something up. All right, so from what I can tell, it looks like, and this isn't 100% for certain, it does look like you guys are getting a pretty, like, authentic Chuck E. Cheese, and what I mean by that is it looks like you are getting a Chuck E. Cheese that is very much in line with the Chuck E. Cheese we have currently here in the U.S., which is actually to say you're getting a very, very, very inauthentic Chuck E. Cheese. Again, that is if what I can find online here is to be believed, and this is just a quick cursory search. But let me go down the memory lane and kind of a beginner's guide to Chuck E. Cheese, if you will. Now, longtime listeners of the podcast who can go back to the pandemic era know full well that the pandemic did a whole number on a lot of people. Listen, it made some people fucking psycho and crazy and take horse tranquilizer and bleach themselves, and it turned people against loved ones and friends. It turned a lot of people into a lot of things. But the one thing the pandemic era absolutely did to me was turn me into even more of an incel child, because you might remember, if you listen to the podcast long enough, I went through, I don't know if you want to call it a phase, because it's somewhere asleep deep within me right now, and I feel like it could be awoken at any moment. But I did go through a little burst of time during 2020 where I was like, you know what? The thing about Chuck E. Cheese is I don't want to go there and play, because I'm a 20-something-year-old man at the time. I don't want to go to Chuck E. Cheese and hang out with friends because I'm not a pedo. But I do want to go to Chuck E. Cheese and eat their pizza, because I think I remember their pizza being really good. And if you guys remember, if you listen all the way back then to 2020, not only did I go to Chuck E. Cheese a handful of times during the pandemic, not to sit and eat, but to get to-go food, to-go pizza, I also had my girlfriend, God bless her, I can't believe she's still with me, got me a Chuck E. Cheese birthday cake that year for my birthday. So I like to think I'm still really versed. Actually, funny little anecdote as a tangent to this tangent. Hunter, if you're listening, friend of the show, Hunter, who sometimes listens as you can imagine, based on the fact that I said Hunter, if you're listening. One time he and I were in a good old Lakeland, Florida, doing, I don't remember what the hell, we were probably at the fucking antique store or something. And there's a Chuck E. Cheese in that parking lot here in Lakeland, Florida. It's a town, doesn't matter. And there's a Chuck E. Cheese, and I think he was just trying to be a nice person, and in an effort to humor me, was like, hey, do you want to go to Chuck E. Cheese? And I think in his mind, it was a combination of like, it would be a really nice gesture as a friend for me to say, hey, do you want to go to Chuck E. Cheese? Because I know you like the pizza here, and hey, it's right there in the parking lot. And I think it was a combination of that, and also a combination of him misremembering based on his childhood that, like, I think Chuck E. Cheese is a fun place with arcade games that I might like to go to, because my buddy Hunter, he's into nerd culture and video games and stuff like that. So I think there might have been a small part of his brain that was giving him this Mandela effect that made him believe Chuck E. Cheese was a place that grown men might be able to go to. And I remember being like, if I don't know, I'm inept when it comes to social stuff. So I just remember feeling like, oh yeah, that's really nice of you. And like deep down inside, I was like, we probably shouldn't go to Chuck E. Cheese. We're grown men. But I was like, oh, why not? So we walked in. I'll never forget this. We walked in. It's like 2021, 2022. We walk into a Chuck E. Cheese in Lakeland, Florida. The first thing you're greeted by at Chuck E. Cheese is a turnstile and an employee who has to stamp your hands to make sure you don't walk out with the wrong fucking child. Okay? Walk in, see the hand stamp, see the turnstile, and immediately we both give each other this look. If I remember correctly, there were no words exchanged. It was this mutual look of like, oh God, we've made a grave mistake. For me, it was like, yeah, I love the pizza, but not enough to go through this. And for him, it was the look of, oh my God, I totally misremembered. Like, Chuck E. Cheese is just not a place you can go if you do not have a child with you. Holy fuck, get me out of here. And we gave each other that mutual look, turned around and walked out the building. Needless to say, we did not eat Chuck E. Cheese that fine day. But yeah, here's the thing about Chuck E. Cheese. It has a really bad reputation, and it's for a multitude of reasons. We don't have to get into all of it. But, if you were, I consider myself very lucky. I know everyone's nostalgic for the time period in which they grew up in. So everyone has this bias of, the best time to be a kid was when I was a kid, right? 16th century peasants feel the same way about their upbringing. But the truth of the matter is, I really do consider myself to be one of the luckiest generations alive right now in terms of childhood, because being born in the 90s and growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s was such a special time period, because I feel, we got to experience so many advancements in technology, so many advancements in entertainment, but we also got to be on the precipice, like kind of on that. I know what it's like to not have an iPhone 16 Plus in your pocket, as a child, and I know what it's like to not be able to look up naked women when you're 4 years old, and I know that it's not, I don't know what it's like to be insecure about your boobs when you're 11 years old, because I grew up in this time period where like kids were still kids, but by the time I got to high school, we were like modern kids at the same time. Like when I was in high school, everyone had cell phones and the internet and social media, but when I was in like elementary school, we were all like, oh, Nintendo GameCube and Pikmin and running around the playground and Star Wars and stuff. So it was like this really awesome thing where the internet hadn't destroyed my generation until we were just the right age to get destroyed by the internet. And so I feel like I got to live, through the awesome 90s where everything was loud and cool and fun. And Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy came out starting in 2002, and I just lost my shit and had the best childhood ever. So I have a very, very fond outlook on the era in which I was raised in my childhood. And the thing about that is, one of the many great things about the time in which I was a kid is that I really grew up during the very last era in which Chuck E. Cheese was actually a really cool restaurant. You'd watch Nickelodeon because we used to have cartoons. Kids didn't just watch fucking porn and brain rot Fortnite videos. They used to watch cartoons on TV, and you'd be watching like SpongeBob or Foster's Home or whatever, And then a commercial would come on and be like, Chuck E. Cheese is where a kid can be a kid. And it's fucking animated Chucky. And, it wasn't like CGI Chucky. It was like animation. It was like 2D animation. And he had an electric guitar and he had his hat on backwards. He's like, I'm Chuck E. Cheese. I like to skateboard. And he'd just fucking rock out on the guitar. And the kids would be like, yeah. And then they'd play skee ball and have a bunch of tickets and buy cool toys. And they'd be eating cheese pizza. I'm like, holy fuck, Chuck E. Cheese is so cool. If you're not at Chuck E. Cheese, you're dumb. And if you are at Chuck E. Cheese, you're the coolest kid in the world. And that's how I felt growing up because, again, I grew up in the time period before everyone had a cell phone. We had the internet, but you had to go to the family room and kick mom off the home phone and log into RuneScape. It was like a whole thing, it wasn't like I could just whip out my phone and just be like, oh, I'm following thoughts on Instagram now and Snapchatting nudes to all my middle school friends. It was like we had to like go outside and then when we were inside we played Pikmin, and when we were outside we picked on men on the playground because we had bullies back in my day, and it was awesome. But yeah, Chuck E. Cheese was so great when I was a kid. I have great memories of going to Chuck E. Cheese when I was like 6, 7 years old, whatever. And then I have siblings that are much older than me, so when my sister had her first kid and I became an uncle at like age 9 or whatever, it was like, fuck yeah, round 2 of Chuck E. Cheese. Because even though like when I was 10, 12, 13, it was like, you're too old to go to Chuck E. Cheese. But now I had like a 2-year-old nephew, a 3-year-old nephew, and it was like, cool, now we can go to Chuck E. Cheese again because the little nephew wants to go, So it was awesome. I feel like I got quite a bit of exposure to Chuck E. Cheese throughout my youth, just by the way things lined up and everything. And it was an era in which Chuck E. Cheese was still cool. You go to the store and they had the audio animatronics and they're fucking rocking out on stage like it's Disney World, and the pizza was awesome and everything was awesome. I love Chuck E. Cheese so much. I remember the smell. It's one of those places where it's like Toys R Us. You can just remember the smell of Chuck E. Cheese at any given point in time. It's just nostalgic. So I loved Chuck E. Cheese growing up. And as an adult, I had this suspicion that I think Chuck E. Cheese pizza actually was kind of good. As someone who can appreciate real nice pizza, and then also like, yeah, sometimes Domino's slaps, that kind of thing. I can recognize that Chuck E. Cheese isn't like high quality, authentic pizza or anything like that. But for fast food kid pizza, it is pretty good and it's very nostalgic and I like it. And I can confirm from my little weird stint I went through during the pandemic where I had Chuck E. Cheese to go a handful of times. Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese pizza is good. I don't care what anyone says. If in Australia they serve the same recipe that they serve here in the States, I gotta be honest with you, man. I really think Chuck E. Cheese pizza is pretty fucking decent. Get yourself a cheese or a pepperoni. Don't go crazy. Just get one of the 2 simple ones and enjoy it. It's really good shit. They cut it into a ton of tiny little slices so little fucking kids can feel like they're fat asses by eating 4 pieces when it really adds up to 1. That kind of thing. So it's this whole experience, and I really do stand by the fact that Chuck E. Cheese food is good. The Chuck E. Cheese experience I had growing up was excellent, and so I have these rose-tinted glasses of when I look back on what Chuck E. Cheese was. But the reality is today, it kind of fucking sucks. Chuck E. Cheese is really lame. They got rid of the animatronics. Now there's just some creepy guy in a mouse costume. The new look for Chucky, kind of dumb. The commercials, he's all CG and he's stupid and he's texting girls and it's weird. And there's a dance floor. They replaced like the fucking stage with the audio animatronics. They replaced it with a dance floor. And now this guy in a Chuck E. Cheese costume comes out and kids just dance. I'm like, it just epitomizes everything that sucks about this generation. There's no decoration on the walls. There's no like loud 90s feeling to it. There's no animatronics dancing. There's no cool shit going on. It's just like a giant fucking corporate building with some shitty neon lights plugged into the wall and a guy in a costume dancing around on a shitty dance floor. And they're like, don't worry, we got rid of all the bells and whistles, but spend money anyway. And eat, the pizza's still good, but the experience is dead inside. And when you walk into a Chuck E. Cheese now, I gotta be honest, it's just depressing. They're just sad looking. So I don't know. Jay, you have young kids. You have every excuse in the world to go to Chuck E. Cheese. I say, give it the old college try. You owe it. You owe yourself at least that. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. So what? You move on, right? But I think even though the animatronics are gone and the soul of the restaurant is kind of dead, and with the 90s and early 2000s, all the fun has kind of just been ripped out of it. Like it's theming, it's atmosphere, it's fun, it's style, it's advertisement. It doesn't have that cool kids feel to it anymore. It has that sterile, modern, corporate, boring thing that every brand likes to do. So it's a little flat and dead and boring inside. But I'm glossing over the most important part, perhaps, which is that it is an arcade aimed at young kids and families with children. And there are some fun games. Like, I know last time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, they definitely have like that Mario Kart Namco racing game. Of course, you got classics like Skee Ball and shit like that. They got like those fucking Jurassic Park Raw Thrills, like arcade shooter games and stuff like that. So there's some fun games to play. Definitely if you have young kids, you can have some fun in the arcade and eat some pretty yummy pizza. But just know that the store is going to look like a complete shell of what the brand once was, and that you're missing out on a large part of the experience by not having the audio animatronics and by having this new corporate, sterile, flat, boring, bland design that all companies are so hell-bent on sporting today. So I guess that is my long-winded way of saying Chuck E. Cheese is definitely worth the visit. Don't bring the stomach pump. I must say, people really do highly overreact about the food at Chuck E. Cheese. I think it's good for what it is. And let us know if you decide to go. Definitely let us know how it goes. I'd be very curious to know. Let me put it this way: if I were a father and I had a young child right now, 100% I would take that kid to Chuck E. Cheese. 100%. Would I be bitching the whole time about how it was better when I was their age? Absolutely. But I'd still go. I'd still want my kid to be able to experience what little there is left of Chuck E. Cheese. It's better than nothing, I guess. It's like it's better to have mom and dad in your life, even if they are, strung out junkies, than to just not have parents at all. And that's kind of how I feel about Chuck E. Cheese. Jay, I hope you guys have a wonderful time. As part of, on behalf of all of us here at the Xbox On podcast, we wish you and your family an excellent journey to Chuck E. Cheese, where a kid can be a kid. All right, next up here, guys, you're saying, Jesse, why are we opening comments? Shut the fuck up. Dead Captain James writes in and says, damn, it's no reflection on you, Jesse, but it's a reflection on Microsoft and Xbox as a whole. I hope I misunderstood you, but if you're done with the podcast, thanks for the years of content, bro. And if not, see you next week. Yeah, I don't remember what I said to suggest that I genuinely might be hanging up the Duke controller or whatever, but no, I'm not. The podcast is not going away. Remember, the more irrelevant the show becomes, the more relevant Xbox as a brand becomes, the more motivated I become to do the show, because you guys know I'm a hipster. You guys know I only do things if they're cool, and I refuse to do the Xbox podcast if Xbox becomes a popular brand. But the more and more obscure the brand becomes, the less relevant it becomes, the more compelled I feel to be the best Xbox podcaster I can be. So Dead Captain James, you got nothing to worry about. I'm right here with you, and I'm not going anywhere. Maybe you're going, oh, yay, Jesse's going to stick around and keep doing the podcast. Or maybe you're going, oh, yay, more Xbox On, yay. Because, I don't know, Dead Captain James, maybe you hate the podcast, but in 2019 you lost a bet with some friends, and you are forced to listen to the show for eternity or whenever the show ends, whichever comes first. And if that's the case, I really feel for you, buddy, but the show's not going anywhere anytime too soon, so it looks like you got a lot more for me to listen to. Unfortunately, I am sorry. I'm very sorry, sir. But thank you for writing in. And guys, with that 20-minute rambling out of the way, let's start out with the Xbox On podcast. Guys, we have some notable games releasing this week, but there's only one I really want to mention because it's kind of a big one, and that is Mafia: The Old Country. It is out now on Xbox Series S and X. Actually, it's not out now. It's out Friday, August 8th, so the day after this podcast goes live, you'll be able to play this game. Published by 2K. No. Let's talk about this. This game is $50. It's a $50 game. It is not a full price $70 game. It is a story mode only and nothing more. And I really, really admire what 2K is going for here with by being brave enough to test the pricing spectrum and to see, like different kinds of games, different prices. We know Borderlands 4 comes out soon, and that's going to be $70. And then we know 2K is also going to be putting out Grand Theft Auto 6 next year, and that's probably going to be $1 trillion. So I really appreciate this exploration of the pricing spectrum and not just being like, oh yeah, every game's going to be $70, because I think this is something we need to see get adopted. Rather than people bitching and moaning all the time about a couple $80 games, what we need to do is normalize a large gamut of price ranges where publishers and developers feel emboldened to explore and then, say, hey, we could get away with selling this game for $70, but we think we'll make more money by selling more copies if we price it at $50 and try to explore that spectrum and see what kind of games can get away with what price tags, because not all games are created equally. Different teams of different sizes and different locations make different games over different amounts of time with different budgets, and it just doesn't seem fair that everything has to be this one-size-fits-all $70 price tag, and I just really commend them for that. But as far as the game itself, game looks awesome. I really did want to play this. This was kind of like one of my high hopes for this year, was that maybe I would play Mafia 1 and 2 Definitive Edition and give those games a try, maybe even Mafia 3, so I could be ready to give this game a go later in the year. But it just I don't know, this year's gotten away from me. I've played a lot of games this year, but it's really been the year of the Nintendo redemption for me. So the Xbox back catalog is just not getting caught up on this year. Really, my relationship with Xbox this year is just try to keep up with the flow of games coming out, rather more than anything. So Mafia, the Old Country, unfortunately, it's not going to get the time and attention from me. I have other plans, which we'll get to later in the podcast, but yeah, unfortunately, Mafia, the Old Country, I'm sure it's a great game, but it's just not on the list for me. So, but that is the most notable game coming out this week I wanted to mention. You guys, let's put it honestly again. We're still in this lull where it's just like, I don't really know what to do with the news. It's nothing too crazy is going on, and I've kind of liked the flow of the podcast lately, where we've just been doing news and not segmenting it up by different types of news stories. So I think we should keep up with that, and then we'll get into what I've been playing and all that stuff, and then wrap up the podcast. Now this week we really don't have many comments, so I put a couple at the front of the show and I sprinkled a couple throughout the news, but other than that we don't really have a full comment section. So this week it's just going to be news, what I've been playing / eating, and then we'll wrap it up. It'll be a shorter but sweeter episode of Xbox On, the podcast, the show, the movie, the game. And we got about a dozen stories or so to get through here. So let's hop right into the news this week, guys. What do you say? All right, guys, let's start out this week's news with a quick update on Starfield, which is that MP First sources have indicated that Bethesda is currently targeting a spring to mid-June release for Starfield on PlayStation 5 next year. So, although they have not officially announced that Starfield is coming to PlayStation 5, we know it's coming to PlayStation 5. They can't keep this thing off that platform for too long. Obviously, this was a huge game for Xbox when the strategy was to make great games for Xbox, but now the strategy is to cannibalize the Xbox platform as much as you fucking can and put everything on PlayStation. So, of course, we knew this had to happen because we already got Gears of War and Forza. How the hell do you think that somehow Starfield's going to be exempt from it? So, of course. But the rumors are now pointing to a 2026 spring to summer launch for the game on PlayStation. But that's not all. The story DLC that was launched last year in 2024 was originally released for Xbox and PC. It came out with poor user reception, and so Microsoft has changed their plans. They were going to launch another DLC, but now the plan is to, I guess, launch Starfield on the PS5 to coincide with the game's second expansion and another big update for the game. So we don't know if it's going to have that expansion, if it's not, but if so, the plan would probably be to launch it around the time of a PS5 version. So you could do some kind of like comprehensive Game of the Year edition where you have all the content in one package for PS5 and then launch that new content on Xbox and PC. So possibly we hear something about Starfield DLC at Gamescom, but probably won't hear about the PS5 version until sometime next year because Xbox's plan usually with porting existing games over to PS5 tends to be to announce it within a month or two of its release. So that's probably the plan here. But there you go. There's your update on Starfield coming to the PlayStation platform. Not that many people listening to this podcast are necessarily looking forward to that because they probably already played Starfield, but it's a relevant thing to talk about nonetheless. Now let's start to get into something a little more unusual and a little more interesting in the sense that we haven't talked about anything like this before. So from VGC, Microsoft has begun rolling out its age verification checks on its Xbox platforms in the UK in order to comply with a new Online Safety Act, which came into effect in the UK this past week. The new law forces companies to host adult content such as pornography to verify age of users via banking details or government-issued identification. There we go. While the Xbox verification is currently optional, this won't be the case for long. Next year in 2026, Xbox users who wish to use voice or text communications with those outside of their friends list will need to verify their age. Microsoft says that it plans to learn from the UK rollout of the tools to apply similar safety efforts in other regions. Now, it's really important to note, they say Xbox users who wish to use voice or text communications with those outside of their friends list. So it sounds like they're basically saying you need to verify your age if that's what you plan to do. There's no one. This is Kim Coons from Microsoft, VP of Gaming, Trust, and Safety, says there is no one-size-fits-all solution to player safety, so these methods may look different across different regions and different experiences. We'll work with local communities, publishing partners, and regulators to determine the right approach for both of these in respects to players' privacy and something that doesn't take away from Xbox gameplay experience. We'll continue to communicate our changes that we're making to our practices with the data that we collect, so we can better protect players on our platforms. Firms are taking the new law pretty seriously, as penalties for non-compliance include up to £18 million or 10% of global revenues for potential massive blow to companies like Microsoft. The law's effectiveness has already been questioned online, with some users discovering that some sites can be bypassed with a VPN, while others can use verification systems, or others have verification systems that are so relaxed that Death Stranding's photo mode or an image of WWE 2K25 have been used in certain instances to bypass this thin security system. So whether a player verifies their age or not will not affect previous purchases, entitlements, gameplay history, achievements, or the ability to purchase any games, says Xbox. However, we encourage players to verify their age via this one-time process to avoid uninterrupted use of social features on Xbox in the future. So it seems like this has entirely nothing to do with buying games, accessing M-rated games, or anything like that. It's strictly just about underage users' ability to interact with other people on Xbox Game Pass Network, whatever. So basically just protect your kids, that kind of thing. So instead of having a little Jimmy of 12 years of age get cursed out in the Call of Duty lobby by some guy who says he effed his mother, this way they just have a little Jimmy not able to listen to or talk to anyone in the lobby unless they're on his friends list. So it just seems like a pretty... It seems like a pretty milquetoast kind of like not super impeding update, just because no one uses really public chat for the most part anymore, and no one really chats outside their friends list, and no one uses really party chats or anything at all anymore because everyone uses Discord. And I don't know. I feel like this isn't a huge loss. Like, kind of the era of talking to strangers in public lobbies on Xbox Live has been a dead thing for a while, and so I just personally feel like there's not a whole lot that would be lost here. And yeah, maybe you protect some young kids from being lured into some unsavory communication scenarios with some strangers. So I don't think this is too big of a deal. It's just complying with a regulation in a different part of the world that they have to comply with. So from that point of view, of course you get it. But if they choose to roll something similar like this out to other territories, including the US, I wouldn't be torn up about it. Obviously, it doesn't affect me because I'm not a child trying to talk to older people on Xbox Live. I'm also not an older person trying to talk to younger people on Xbox Live. So it wouldn't affect most of us, really. I hope any of us, really. But I just always expect the internet to get up in arms and pissy about something, I guess. I would have been a little bit like, oof, about this if it was like, oh, you guys show age verification if you want to purchase an M-rated game or something like that. Like, I thought that's where it was going to go, and I was going to be like, ooh, sorry to all the kids that want to play fucking Roblox and GTA because your life's about to be over forever. But it's so much more, it's so much less intrusive than that. It's just really like, oh, you can't talk to creepy strangers in Call of Duty lobbies. And I just feel like this really isn't affecting anyone in 2025. This would have been a bigger blow in 2009. So, like, what is there really to talk about? However, there was also word that there might be some age verification or something to play online for Grand Theft Auto 6, because Cronky wrote and says, rumor is that the new GTA may require ID verification for online play. Tis, that would have to hurt the sales, right? Gamers have some amount of self-respect, right? Hopefully. I wonder if this ties into this UK thing. I don't know. If they do something like that, I mean, I don't know. I'll be honest, man. I am pretty much... I'm very, like, liberal about these things. I'm very much like, yeah, just let anyone do whatever. Who gives a shit? And generally, when it comes to, like, kids getting access to things, I have a very much like, yeah, let the parents kind of make these decisions kind of approach to it. But I'm going to be honest, I don't totally hate the idea of laws and rules that are designed around protecting the innocence and safety of children. So, like, it's hard to get, like, too hung up on this. It doesn't really affect... like any of us at all. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably an adult. And, it's like, this doesn't really have any negative way or impact or change on any of our lives. But for kids, it potentially prevents them from experiencing things they're not supposed to experience or interacting with people who are unsavory. It just seems like kind of a pretty minor, no pun intended, measurement or measure to just add a little bit more of safety to children out there on the internet. So I just don't see really what all there is to make of this. But yeah, I mean, if there's some huge ID verification system for Grand Theft Auto 6, I mean, that would have some material impact on the game, especially if it was in all territories, because no doubt, I remember clear as day, when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade, one of the most talked about and played games was Grand Theft Auto 3. So I very much know what it's like to be a child well under the age of 17, which for those who don't know is the legal age in the US to buy an M-rated game. I know very well what it's like to be a child well under 17 years of age and just be at school talking about with your friends how you played Grand Theft Auto 3 last night and you ran over grandma and mowed down a bunch of hookers with a machine gun. So trust me, I get it. I don't think Grand Theft Auto had any impact on the kind of person I became, good or bad. And that's really kind of where I fall in, like, the whole, like, shouldn't it be mom and dad's decision if the kid can play Grand Theft Auto? But if we're just trying to protect the kid from, talking to pedos in Call of Duty lobbies, I don't see what the big fuss is, But I don't know. Maybe you guys have other opinions. I can't find it in me to give a whole lot of fucks about something like this. It just seems pretty well intended and pretty overall harmless. But people are like, oh, my freedoms. I want my kid to get verbally harassed online because it's like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna fight for the kids to have these freedoms or something? Who gives a shit? Calm down. Fuck the kids. All right, guys. Speaking of fucking kids, let's talk about a game that I'm a lot more excited for than kids or Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, which is Battlefield 6. I'm really on the Battlefield 6 hype train. So last week we talked about the campaign teaser trailer that came out, and then the day this podcast went live, we got the multiplayer reveal and a lot of details about the game. So Battlefield 6 is officially coming out on October 10th. All right, but we're going to get to play it much sooner. So from VGC, EA has revealed that players will be able to participate in an upcoming Battlefield 6 beta. Alongside the reveal last week, the publisher confirmed that the open beta will be held this month on Xbox Series S and X consoles as well as PC via Steam, Epic Games Store, and the EA app. The beta will be open to everyone over the 2 weekends in which it's taking place, which are August 9th through 10th and August 14th through 17th, and preloading is available right now. However, early access to the beta will kick off on Thursday, August 7th and 8th for those who have EA Play Pro subscription or who have pre-registered for Battlefield Labs before July 31st. So there are a handful of people who will get to play this video game the day this podcast goes live on Thursday the 7th. But for most of us normies, this upcoming weekend on Saturday the 9th, and then next weekend, we'll be able to play Battlefield 6, the public beta, which is available to download now. I've already downloaded it on my PC and my Xbox, so I'm really looking forward to it. We'll get into it more with what I've been playing, but yeah, Cronky and I have been playing some Battlefield. I've been playing a lot of Battlefield on my own, and Cronky writes in and says, played some Battlefield this week. Gotta say, I miss Bad Company 2, and that's not all, and not at all any of the other games. I disagree with this. I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 2042, and we went into Portal mode and played some Bad Company stuff. And yeah, it's good. That shit. I mean, Bad Company 2 is like the greatest. Bad Company 2, 1943, and Bad Company 1. Those are my favorite Battlefield games by a lot. So I get it. But man, Battlefield 6 looks just phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie here. So we got the multiplayer reveal, and then like all the content creators did like streams and stuff, and they revealed all these details. And I don't really want to get into it all too much. But let's just say Battlefield 6 is gonna be what they're kind of describing it as a return to form for Battlefield. It's kind of the spiritual successor to games like Battlefield 3 and 4, and it looks very much like traditional military sim kind of fucking multiplayer, big battle nonsense like Battlefield traditionally had been. Battlefield's taken a lot of risks and done a lot of things in the recent decade with Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 2042, and these games have experienced varying degrees of success. But I think a lot of people are just kind of clamoring for Battlefield to kind of go back to what it used to be. And I think from that perspective, Battlefield 6 looks really, really good. It looks really fine. It looks really polished. I'm hoping this beta goes pretty smooth. I'm fully expecting with all the interest. Apparently, many thousands of people have signed up for beta access, or download the beta. So I'm expecting servers, at least that first weekend, to be kind of a shit show. And if you'll remember, fans might remember that Battlefield 4 back in 2013 launched in an absolutely fucking destroyed state because the online servers could not handle the game and were not working properly. And for weeks, that game was just a fucking mess. And so it's possible we run into a situation like that. Battlefield 2042 had fewer issues, but a lot of issues at launch as well. And so, obviously this is really meant to be a stress test and a marketing hype tool. But I'm really hoping that this weekend and next weekend, we get to spend some quality time playing Battlefield 6, because based on everything I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on this game this past week, and based on everything we've heard and seen, I'm really looking forward to this game. I want to play the campaign. I want to play the multiplayer. I'm really excited about, Battlefield being headed by Vince Zampella, former Infinity Ward, Modern Warfare 2 father and god, and just having that, the talent of these four teams coming together to make Battlefield, really seeing like how they can make this game sing, how they can make it a traditional, authentic Battlefield experience while also making it maybe a little more pick up and play and fine-tuned and just easier for new audiences to get involved with. And I just think this game looks really good. And from what I hear from impressions so far is that it is the best Battlefield in quite a while. So if you're a big fan of Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 and 4, it seems like it's a good time to get excited about the imminent future of Battlefield 6. We'll get to play it over the next 2 weekends, and then it will be out in early October on Friday the 10th. So really all around pretty darn excited about the future of Battlefield. And I'll be honest, we're a couple weeks away from Gamescom and getting the Black Ops 7 full reveal treatment. And even though I am pretty cautiously optimistic and curious about Black Ops 7 as someone who loves Black Ops 2, I fully expect that game to be a big disappointment, whereas I fully expect Battlefield 6 to be like the best Battlefield in a long ass time. And even though I am much more of a Call of Duty guy than a Battlefield guy, generally speaking, I just feel really optimistic about and excited about Battlefield because it's just been a while. We don't get these games all the time, and we certainly haven't seen one that's this enticing in quite a while. So I'm just really excited about Battlefield 6. Doesn't mean I won't be looking forward to Black Ops 7. I hope that game shows way better than how we're expecting it to go. But something tells me that game is going to be one of the Call of Duty duds and not one of the hits. But we'll see. They all sell great, but I'm talking about in terms of actually being a good game. So we'll just have to wait and see. But Battlefield 6 looks phenomenal. Can't wait. And we'll talk about Battlefield some more when we get to what I've been playing. But speaking of Call of Duty, it looks like a group of 19 quality assurance or QA workers at Call of Duty studio Raven Software have unanimously voted to ratify their first union contract with Microsoft. Good news is that this was the news is that this was first reported by journalist Shannon Liao. It comes over 3 years after Activision Blizzard first officially recognized the union, the Game Workers Alliance. The contract guarantees 10% wage increases over 2 years and the option to permanently work from home for most QA workers. New measures to tackle crunch culture and a defined process for promotions and salary increases. The Game Workers Alliance was formed in May of 2022, and at the time, Bobby Kotick, then CEO of Activision, said the publisher would engage in good faith negotiations to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the workers. However, it proved to be drawn out and fraught as a process for the union members, because last summer they filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board claiming that Activision and its parent company Microsoft were stalling over contract negotiations. So It's good to see that they are working together and banding together and ratifying a contract. However, unfortunately, it looks like the experience for them has been less than smooth. Shocker, shocker. When you're a union working for like one of the biggest corporations of all time, chances are you're not going to be treated too favorably. It's going to be a lot of lip service for the press and a lot of slow-paced lack of progress for the actual notable change. So no real surprise there, but I don't know jack shit about unions and how any of this stuff works, so I just don't want to talk about it to too much of an extent because it would just be really, really disingenuous for me to feel like I could say anything meaningful to this extent. But news worth mentioning nonetheless. And then speaking of news worth mentioning that's otherwise not unassuming, that's unimpressive really. So a third-party Xbox controller based on developer Rare has been listed on Amazon with an official release seeming imminent. As spotted by Reddit user Crack's favorite stylus, the controller has been listed on Amazon's US site, but at the time of this article being posted, there's no official announcement from Rare or Microsoft about the actual controller's manufacturing. Rather than one of the numerous official first-party Xbox controllers being released by Xbox over the years, this 40th anniversary controller celebrating Rare's history is actually being made by 8-Bit Dough, which is a company that makes a lot of accessories for Nintendo stuff. But the controller features Hall effect sticks, Pro back buttons, and is compatible with Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, PC, Android, and iOS. The controller is also 8-Bit Dough's first ever 2.4G wireless Xbox controller, according to the manufacturer. And there's a picture of it. It comes with a cool little charging stand like those ones that Razer makes, but the controller kind of looks like ass, kind of looks like a Switch Pro controller, but it also looks like a navy blue color thing from Avatar. But it has all these little accents to kind of celebrate Rare. It's got like a little jiggy piece from Banjo-Kazooie. It's got Kraken tentacles from Sea of Thieves. It's got, nods to Conker's Bad Fur Day and Viva Pinata and all these things. So nods to the history and the culture of Rare. And then on the charging grip, it says Rare. And then on the controller in the corner, it says 40th Rare Anniversary. And it has the Rare logo, has yellow accents all over like the golden Rare logo, but otherwise is a blue controller, two-tone blue. And it just kind of looks okay because it is an 8-Bit Dough third-party controller. So who the hell wants that? Why are you celebrating one of your in-house publishers that you've had forever by letting a third-party accessory manufacturer make a controller celebrating them? That's just weird. It's like if you were celebrating Halo Infinite by releasing a Mad Catz controller with Master Chief's butt cheeks from the fucking TV show. It's like, this isn't a celebration of Halo. This is an insult to Halo. But, considering you just canceled Rare's game and Rare has been mistreated by Xbox for the overwhelming majority of their time with this parent company, it surprises me 0% that the official Rare 40th anniversary celebration controller is just some shitty third-party accessory and nothing more. So we'll wait to see more about when that's officially revealed, but it looks like that's all but imminent, and the screenshots have leaked and everything, so we'll see. Next up, let's talk about BioShock, a video game franchise that I love very much that we haven't heard about in a long time. So from VGC, Take-Two has replaced the leadership behind the next BioShock game after it reportedly failed an internal development review. So yes, we've known about a BioShock game being in development for about 6-7 years now. But it looks like it's kind of at the drawing board perhaps again. In a statement, a spokesperson from the publisher confirmed Cloud Chamber, the development team behind the new BioShock initiative, the head of the studio, Kelly Gilmore, has left their role, while creative director Hogarth de la Plante has moved to a publisher position. Plante was involved in the original BioShock game across multiple disciplines, including level design and program. However, according to a Bloomberg report, the leadership changes follow a recent failed review by executives at 2K Games, the publishing arm of Take-Two. BioShock 4's narrative was identified as an area that was particularly in need of improvement and will be revamped, it's claimed. According to Bloomberg sources, 2K also canceled plans to make a remake of the original BioShock game earlier this year. Thank God. You've already remade the original BioShock. We don't need to do that. In a recent all-hands meeting, Cloud Chamber developers were reportedly told that the company needs to become more agile and more efficient, leading some to fear layoffs could be following soon. Quote, "We are working as hard to set a BioShock up for the best possible future," 2K Games said in a statement. "Right now we have a good game, but we are committed to delivering a great one. We are working closely with the leadership at the studio to define this path." A spokesperson confirmed in the leadership changes and said that it is hopefully committed to ensuring the delivery of a BioShock game that exceeds the lofty expectations of our fans. So that's from 2K. This is, I mean, listen, BioShock is a hard platform to live up, to level to aspire to and thing to live up to. So, I don't blame Cloud Chamber, for probably being intimidated and possibly, possibly feeling a little in over their heads when trying to do this. But I'm glad that this game failed its internal audit, because I hope 2K knows that if you're going to wheelchair out the BioShock IP again, you better have a real good game up your sleeves. And without someone like Ken Levine at the helm, you really got to take your time and know what you're doing. Now, not to say it can't be done. I think BioShock 2, which was not developed by Irrational Games, the team that made the original BioShock game, I thought BioShock 2 was actually pretty damn good. I'm a fan of BioShock 2. But that being said, I mean, bringing back BioShock after all these years, it's been 12 years since BioShock Infinite. I mean, you really got to make sure that you have a really good reason to bring it back and a really interesting, compelling world and story to tell. And if the leadership feels like the narrative is not quite there yet, by all means, scrap it or go back to the drawing board or do some reworks, because you got to make sure that if you're going to bring BioShock back, you don't do it the Halo way, where it's like, we're bringing it back just to bring it back because you want more of it, right? Make sure you're paying respect and homage to that franchise by doing it justice. So I really am heartened by the fact that it sounds like they care, leadership cares about getting it right. But also, like, this game's been in development for like 7 years, so it's unfortunate that we really have nothing to show for it yet, which leads me to worry that, yes, maybe layoffs are imminent, or the game is going to get canceled altogether, or there's just some kind of development hell, and God knows this story is just all too common these days. So I really fear for that, but hope that Cloud Chamber can turn it around and that we get a really excellent BioShock 4 from these guys. I want to play that game. Rumors were at one point that it was set in the Arctic, and I feel like an Arctic kind of setting similar to Columbia or Rapture would just be such a badass setting. I really, really, really want to play that game, but we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully in the next year we learn about this game. It'd be really cool. Hell, if we saw it at the Game Awards in December, that'd be really badass. All right, let's talk about EA and Disney IP from PureXbox.com. So EA's been working with Disney for a while to translate some of their big IP into AAA games. Mostly, we've seen a lot of Star Wars projects from them over time. However, EA's Dead Space team is now working on an Iron Man game, and an interview now confirms that more unannounced Disney projects are in the works as well. And speaking to Variety, president at EA Entertainment Laura Miele touched on the company's work with Disney, and said that what's going on with ongoing projects, the team has been on those IP. Miele name drops Respawn's upcoming Star Wars Jedi sequel and the aforementioned EA Motive Iron Man game, among others. But then goes on to mention that the team has a few others that haven't been announced yet. What those unannounced games will turn out to be remains to be seen, of course. But one thing you can guarantee is that one of them won't be a Black Panther game, because EA and Disney project was canceled mere months ago, with developer Cliffhanger Games also shut down in the process. So here's hoping that these other unannounced titles suffer better fates than Black Panther. Now, I don't want to speculate really on a litany of like what games they could be making, mostly because there's nothing more disheartening to me than the fact that Disney refuses to make their own video games now, and we just get Disney licensed games. And as a result, anytime you ask a fucking neckbeard man-child what kind of Disney IP he wants to make a video game for, you just end up with your trillionth Star Wars game. So yes, I'm sure there's plenty of more Star Wars dog shit coming down the pipeline. I don't really care about any of that. But what I do want to mention, because it's worth mentioning, is, if Battlefield 6 is about to come out, and DICE is going to be free to move on to the next project. And there's all this stuff going on with Star Wars Battlefront 2 Revival and this internet movement to try and make that game a thing again. I wonder if EA is looking and saying, hey, the timing is right, the stars are aligning. Maybe, just maybe, you tap DICE and say, hey, once Battlefield 6 is out the door, you guys want to do a Star Wars Battlefront 3? Maybe. They might have that up their sleeves. That might be the next project for them. And if that's the case, I think you're going to please a lot of fans. So good for them if that's the case. I just want to put that out there. Maybe, just maybe, because it's been a couple months, and Star Wars Battlefront keeps charting on NPDs and things like that. It wasn't just some like Reddit meme or something. Like, this game is actually kind of making a little bit of a comeback, and so it's really cool to see that. And I know there are a lot of fans that really want to see a Star Wars Battlefront comeback. I want to see a Pandemic Games Star Wars Battlefront comeback, but I know people really like those modern Star Wars Battlefront games. So hopefully, just hopefully, they get what they're looking for. It's really hard to believe it, but that Star Wars Star Wars Battlefront, the new series of Star Wars Battlefront games. I mean, that first one turns 10 years old this fall, and then the sequel turns 10 years old in just 2 years. So those games aren't new anymore by any means. God, fucking kill me. I feel so old. But yeah, I mean, we're long past that era. So it would be time to bring it back, I think, if they're going to do it. All right, guys, let's continue on here with a couple wrap-up stories. So the founders of Red Octane, the guys that made Guitar Hero and DJ Hero, have established a new studio called Red Octane Games. So I don't know how they're getting away with that name or that way of, stylizing it, but good for them. According to today's announcement, the small studio plays home to creators and developers who helped create and scale Guitar Hero and DJ Hero in nearly 2 decades, while also proven emerging development talent and community leaders from across today's rhythm gaming space. Red Octane is currently developing a range of rhythm-based experiences, with its first title scheduled to be revealed later this year, so maybe at Gamescom or the Game Awards. The team is part of within the Embracer Group Free Mode initiative, which offers support and guidance for independently operated businesses. So they're not an Embracer-owned team, but they are working in collaboration with Embracer. So you would assume that Embracer would be publishing whatever game they're working on. The studio is headed up by Simon Ebager, who was the production director on several Guitar Hero titles at Neversoft and later served as studio head at Vicarious Visions and VP of Operations at Blizzard. Red Octane was the publisher of the original Guitar Hero on the PS2 and Guitar Hero 2 before becoming an Activision subsidiary when the Call of Duty maker acquired the franchise for $100 million. Then, as big businesses tend to do, Activision closed Red Octane, which was co-founded by Kai Huang and Charles Huang in 2010. The Huang brothers are to join a special advisory board for the new Red Octane, so they will be involved in some capacity. So fingers crossed, here's hoping we get a Guitar Hero-like game, because, Phil was all like, we're buying Activision, and everyone's like, oh, are you going to bring back Skylanders and Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk? And he was like, maybe. Here's a Hexen shirt. Do you like Hexen? Maybe Raven should make a new Hexen game. And we're like, yes, please. And then he's like, just kidding, here's Call of Duty, Game Pass. And that's where we are. So, listen, if Microsoft's not going to do it, Red Octane Games, you take the lead. Give us some Guitar Hero. God, I just want Guitar Hero back. Please bring Guitar Hero back. I know it probably won't do well, but God damn it, I want it. All right, guys, and our next one here is that Bandai Namco announced at the Nintendo Direct last week that Pac-Man World 2 is getting a remake, which will be coming to Series X consoles, PC on September 26th. It's a remake of the 2002 original Xbox game, and will give the game a modern makeover, as well as some additional expanded levels and things like that, and voice acting. So that's coming soon on September 26th. I played the Pac-Man World 1 repack edition, and did not enjoy it as much as I remembered enjoying it as a kid. So I probably won't be playing this one, but it is cool that they're bringing it out anyway. And I never played Pac-Man World 3. That's the one I never touched. But anyway, next up, EA is looking into doing an Apex Legends film or TV show. They say they see a lot of potential in it. They did an interview with Variety where they said they're pretty motivated to expand beyond the game, that they like things like the game not really having a lot of lore or character development, because this gives the opportunity to utilize television and film to try and flesh these characters in this world out a little more, which makes me want to hurt myself thinking that we can't have Titanfall 3, but we can get an Apex Legends Amazon Prime TV series or whatever. So that's cool. I don't want to talk about that anymore. That makes me upset. So let's round out our news this week, you guys, with some Game Pass updates. games coming and leaving the Game Pass service. So a couple of games to note real quick. So available as of the time you're listening to this podcast, Rain World is now available on Game Pass Ultimate. Citizen Sleeper 2 is now available on Game Pass Standard. Lonely Mountains Snow Riders is available on Game Pass Standard. And also available on Standard Game Pass is Mech Warrior 5 Clans. Orcs Must Die, Death Trap, and Assassin's Creed Mirage, that's a big one, are now available on Xbox Game Pass. And then coming soon, the following 2 games will be added to the service on August 12th. You get Aliens Fireteam Elite, which has been on Game Pass before, but is now coming back. And then Nine Kings comes to Game Pass. It's a game preview game on Game Pass PC August 14th. But that's not all. Of course, we have to lose some games to gain some games. So on August 15th, the following 3 games will be leaving Game Pass. And they are Persona 3 Reloaded, which is a big one. Farming Simulator 22. And Anthem, BioWare and EA's Anthem. But this is because this game is going offline, I think, in January. And so it's leaving, maybe it's going offline sooner, but it's leaving EA Play and Game Pass as a result. So guys, play these games while you still can and get ready for Assassin's Creed Mirage on Game Pass. It's a pretty good get, I think. That's the Assassin's Creed from a few years ago that was very traditional style. It wasn't big open world. It was like a classic Assassin's Creed. So that's a pretty good get there. Guys, I'm going to take a quick water break. Then we're going to come back and talk about what I've been eating and what I've been playing before we wrap up the podcast. So I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Xbox On Podcast. Guys, I want to tell you about the games I've been playing this week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing this week as we round out the podcast, I want to first tell you back, take you back, tell you about, oh my God, I'm having an aneurysm. I want to tell you about what it is I've been eating because, well, I've really only been eating it. Well, I've had it twice in the past week, and I'll be honest, I want it like 5 more times right now. Guys, let's talk about steak tacos. Now, I'm talking about the real deal. I hate that as this podcast goes on, I can feel myself growing up and becoming more of an adult when it comes to my palate, because if we were talking about steak tacos 5 years ago, I'd be like, nah, get the chicken tacos at Taco Bell, get like 12 of them, and then get a Crunchwrap Supreme and a burrito. But that's not how I feel today. Listen, I still love Taco Bell, don't get me wrong. I don't eat Taco Bell a whole lot. It's pretty freaking rare I have Taco Bell, but I have really been, as the kids would say, fucking with legit like classic style Mexican street steak tacos. I'm talking about the corn tortilla, like the small corn tortilla. They double stack on those thin corn tortillas that rip easily. So you put 2 of them down, and then you put like the nice, it's super simple steak, raw onions out the ass, cilantro, and tons of cilantro. And if you want to put like a tomatillo sauce or something on there, a mild salsa or something, you throw a little of that on there too. But otherwise, it's just steak, onion, cilantro on a corn tortilla. Nice house-made corn tortilla. That is one of those. It's so funny because for most of my life, cilantro has been one of the few food ingredients that I just really hate. I always told people I hate ketchup and I hate cilantro. Otherwise, I like everything. Even like mushroom, like I don't love mushroom, but I can eat mushroom no problem. But no, cilantro is something where I've really come around to it in recent years, where it's gone from like, I don't really care for cilantro to like, no, I really like cilantro. Like I really enjoy cilantro on my food. It's just, I've really 180'd on that ingredient. The only thing that stayed consistent is I still to this fucking day hate ketchup, and I hate anyone who uses it. If I swear to God, if I see you using ketchup, I'll rip your fucking head off, you crazy person. Anyway, but oh boy, corn tortilla, steak, onion, cilantro. It's so beautiful, man. So perfect. So there's this little Mexican spot. I love how people always say that when they're talking about like a local restaurant. They're like, oh, it's a little hole in the wall, a little Mexican spot, small little Chinese place, tiny infantile size. But no, there's this local Mexican restaurant, like not even a mile from my current working location, as that changes once or twice a year. But currently I'm like less than a mile from this Mexican place, and it is so fucking good. Family owned. It's just mom, dad, a kid, and some other person. By kid, I mean like a guy who looks like he's 30, and like someone else. It's a small family run restaurant, and it is, dude. I mean, they got, you can get the quesadillas and the burritos and the enchiladas and the mole sauce and all that, whatever. But it's like authentic, like legit Mexican restaurant. It's not like Tex-Mex, which is, no disrespect. I love Tex-Mex as well, but it's like a legit Mexican restaurant. And man, they got tacos for $3, And so sometimes if I'm being a little naughty, if I didn't bring my food to work or something for lunch, I will go over there and treat myself. Or if I'm like ordering food for like me and my coworkers, I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna go down to Sazon Latina and I'm gonna grab some fucking tacos. What do you guys want? But man, this place is so fucking good. So simple. Every time it's the same. I call them up and I go, oh, let me get 3 steak tacos. And then I got to resist the urge to get like 4 or 5 of them. I just get 3. Gotta keep, gotta watch my portion control a little bit. Let me get 3 of these small little steak tacos. And then I go to pick it up and the lady's always like, oh, you want a fresca? I'm like, no. She's like, nothing to drink? I'm like, no. She's like, you need some rice? I'm like, no. She's like, you need some flan? I'm like, no. You need some tres leches? I'm like, no. And then I just get, after like saying no to everything on the fucking menu, then I get my little tacos and I sit down to eat them. And it's so simplistic. That's the thing I love about like the legit version. Like, obviously I have a very American palate. I'm very American. I love getting like Papa John's pizza and it's like, oh, you got 47 toppings on there and they stuff the crust with mozzarella sticks and it's like super salty and it'll make you feel like shit after you eat it. And I like Burger King and McDonald's and like shitty American foods, right? But there really is something to be said about the original interpretations of these foods that like American fast food is based upon. And you think about like the taco and you think about like a flour tortilla with like cheese and sour cream and fucking tomatoes and guacamole and chicken and all the shit that you throw in these things. You go to Taco Bell and you get like the 14 different sauces. But then like you think about like its original inheritance and how it's just the simple corn tortilla, the simple protein. You get the carnitas or the steak or the what was I trying to say? Whatever, it doesn't matter. The pork carnitas, the steak, the chicken, the shrimp, whatever, and then you just get the cilantro and the onions. It's simple as that. It's like pizza, right? Like you can get the crazy pizza, but then you go to Italy and it's like the wood fire, the charred crust with like the tomato sauce and the blotches, just the little blotches of mozzarella or whatever, right? And it's like that's the classic pizza. Throw some basil on there and call it a day. There's just something about these simplified versions where it's like few ingredients but done right, of the highest quality, and they taste phenomenal. It's just it rivals these like American versions that we're used to where it's like a million ingredients and it's been biologically engineered bioengineered to taste amazing and be addicting to eat and stuff. But then you eat like the authentic real version, it's like 3-4 ingredients, just a high quality version of it done right with care, and it's like, God, it's just so fucking good. And so I just want to give a shout out to like the classic corn tortilla, legit, authentic Mexican tacos. They're little, they're delicious, and goddamn, I could eat them all fucking day. Normally these days, I'm pretty hip and on board with the trend. Birria tacos have been a thing for a long time, but they're very, very trendy right now. And I love birria tacos, but man, right now, the other day, we went to my favorite taco place, which is by our old apartment we used to live in a few years ago, and I passed up on the opportunity to have their absolutely incredible birria tacos just because I was craving steak tacos so damn much. And you know what? I didn't even regret getting the steak tacos because they're so freaking good. So that's it for what I've been eating. I just had to give the big old shout out to the classic, authentic, legit corn tortilla version of the Mexican taco, and man, I'm trying to be really good. Like the other day, I was like, no, we had leftover soup at home that we made the night before, so I was like, let me bring some soup to work. And then the next day, my manager asked me to go out to lunch with him, so we went out to lunch and whatever. But oh man, every day I'm like, oh, I really wanna get those steak tacos again. So I think I'm gonna cave. I'll probably do it maybe tomorrow or Friday or something. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's it for what I've been eating. God bless the steak tacos. Let's talk about what I've been playing, because it should be Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I have mostly been playing. But this past week, I, 1, haven't had a whole lot of time for video games. And 2, when I have had time for video games, I keep going, all right, I'm going to go play Donkey Kong Bonanza now. And then I wander into my office and sit down at the computer, of all places, and keep finding myself playing Battlefield 2042. Don't ask me why. I almost never play video games on the computer. You guys know that. But with my Xbox Game Pass currently lapsed, I was really feeling the itch to play Battlefield. And I was like, you know what? I bet I can get a month of EA Play for like $5 and have access to like every Battlefield game. And Battlefield's one of the few games where I don't really mind playing it on PC instead of Xbox. So I kind of just went for it. I signed up for EA Play or whatever for 1 month. I downloaded Battlefield 2042. And I thought I was just going to play it for like one night, get my fill, and then unsubscribe and move on. But I gotta be honest, I've been playing Battlefield 2042 every night for the past 5 nights, to the point where I'm like 8 hours or something in on just PC time alone. Plus, I played a little bit of Battlefield 4 as well. And, I played Battlefield 2042 when it first came out. I was kind of in the camp that it's not nearly as bad as people are saying it is. And I stand by it to this day, where the game is a lot better than it was at launch. And I really do like this game. I agree there's something to it where it doesn't feel 100% like the game I'm looking for when it comes to Battlefield, but I don't think it's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It's no Battlefield Bad Company 2, but it's also, it's no Battlefield. I don't know if there is a bad Battlefield game. The only Battlefield game I never played was Battlefield 5, and I know a lot of people had issues with that one as well, but I never played it, so I can't speak to it. So I really don't know what to bitch about and moan about. But I just gotta say, there's something about Battlefield where I feel like I'm just really enjoying it. Maybe it's because, my tastes have changed over time, and I have a little bit more patience for something where there's just a whole lot more dying and a skill gap, and there's just a whole lot more going on in the battle. It's not just Call of Duty where you hit instant respawn and just laser tag each other into oblivion. There's a lot more thought and execution, skill, and tactic that goes into playing a game like Battlefield, where there's different roles you can play, different ways you can play the game, different ways to approach. Like, oh, do I want to be a medic? Do I want to be an engineer? Do I want to be assault? Do I want to try to take guys out? Do I want to play the objective? Do I want to support my squad? Do I want to be, kind of what you want to do? Do you want to do, what am I trying to say? Do you want to pilot, a plane or a tank or something like that? So there's just a lot of ways to play Battlefield, and I'm really appreciating just being able to kind of have that more immersive military experience, whereas I'm a little burnt out on Call of Duty right now. Like, I'm tired of, I gotta be honest, I know this is kind of like an internet fanboy talking point, but this is one instance where I really find myself in this mindset and in agreement with this kind of, with this group of people, which is that I'm just a little tired of booting up Call of Duty. I want to play some Black Ops. I want fucking David Mason shooting fucking Frank Woods in the face with guns on multiplayer and call it a day. But I boot up the game and it's like laser tag on a small map that looks the same as every other map, and it's Dr. Phil versus Bill Nye the Science Guy and Barney the Dinosaur is here. And it's like, is this Gary's mod or is this Call of Duty? Like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm just a little tired of the laser guns shot by hip-hop celebrities at fictional cartoon characters. And it's just like not really my idea of Call of Duty anymore. And while I still like Call of Duty, especially when it first comes out, before all the crazy skins get in there, before it's Beavis and Butthead versus the Ninja Turtles, there's just something about Battlefield where it's like, it reminds me of how games used to be, where it was like, oh, you're playing a military shooter? Well, great, we got a bunch of military people fighting each other in a military shooter. I'm like, great, I'll take it. And there's something really tantalizing about that right now to me. And I've just been really enjoying playing Battlefield and not feeling like an absolute adolescent running around where Shrek and Shrek and Hank Pym are fucking jerking each other off over some fucking Superman limited time event. Anyway, so that's really it for what I've been playing. Lots of Battlefield 2042. I like it. I like to play a lot of smaller team maps as someone who is more of a Call of Duty player, so I don't play like Conquest. I play more like the Rush type modes or like Domination on these like smaller like 16 versus 16 kind of game modes. And to me, that's more my speed. Maybe I'll graduate towards the bigger stuff over time, but I've never been too much of a big team person. Like on Halo, I'm not a big team battle guy. On Call of Duty, I'm not a big team battle guy whenever they do have it from time to time. Like, what was it? Ground Wars, what they called it recently. So, we'll see if I graduate from there, but I'm really just enjoying the way I've been playing Battlefield the past couple days, and I'm really looking forward to getting into the Battlefield 6 beta. And now what I'm debating is, am I going to buy this game on PC or Xbox? Because I love playing my games on Xbox, but I have to admit, I feel like every time I play Battlefield on PC, I do enjoy it a little more than when I play on console. So I might have to cave in and, play this game on PC, but I'm going to download the beta on Xbox and PC, try it on both platforms and see which way I want to go and make the determination that way. But it'll be interesting to see. Will I choose PC over Xbox? This would be a huge turning point And it'd be a huge inflection point for me as an Xbox gamer. And I think for everyone who listens to the podcast, it would be honestly earth-shattering news. I mean, forget about Israel and Palestine. I mean, this would be groundbreaking news. So stay tuned for more on that. But I'm really excited next week to get to talk to you guys about the Battlefield 6 beta and hopefully have some more positive stuff to talk about in the world of Xbox. But with that said, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Xbox On, you guys. I really appreciate you all listening. It's weird not ending on the comments section, but it is what it is. So next week we can reconvene, chat a little bit. I love to hear from you guys. So please feel free to write in on youtube.com so I can get your comments, and rate the show on podcast services if you haven't done so already. I'd really appreciate it. I really do want to get this show out to more people, despite how cool I try to play it off by not caring. I really do care deep down inside. Please help. But guys, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care. Take your kids to Chuck E. Cheese. Please don't go to Chuck E. Cheese without a kid, and make sure it's your kid if you go. But until next week, be good, be safe, enjoy your Battlefield, and power your dreams.